All right, we are back. We are going back to back to back to back with so many sessions today. Welcome back to the M&A Summit. Talk number, I don't know, what is this? 712 it feels like. We are going through so much content today. We did the lightning round with brokers and buyers. We did the I sold my firm panel. We heard Nish from Ascend talk about, operating within the PE model. Talked about financing deals. And now we're going to talk with Jen Wilson. She's a co-founder and partner at Convergence Coaching, the leadership, where she focuses on leadership development, succession, and strategy initiatives for growing accounting firms. Her talk is what to ask before taking PE. I told you at the beginning of the summit, we're going to view every side of the coin, of the block, whatever object you want to look at. So really excited to dig in. Jen is also one of my conference buddies. So every time I see you at a conference, Jen, I'm like, great, great. We got to catch up on things I can't catch up with on anybody else. So we get to chat. It's always fun. I'm excited to have you here. I'm gonna go on mute for a second, but I'll kind of pop in and pepper in with questions as they surface. But I'm gonna let you take the driver's seat and take it away from here.
Thank you. I appreciate being here, and I appreciate being your conference buddy too. We process all kinds of stuff that we can't process on Zoom with everybody, so that's awesome. So I'm really privileged to be here today. I think I might be the only person on this whole lineup that has a little bit of reservation. It would be the thing I have to say. Convergence Coaching, we help firms remain independent. We've been doing it for 25 years. It's a total thing that you could do. You don't have to sell. You don't have to sell to PE and you don't have to merge. You can remain independent. That's my first thing that I have to say to you. And we have some questions that we've been asking, and we have questions we think you should ask related to taking PE and investment or really exit strategies. And so I know you've had a whole lot of conversation so far, and I haven't, I facilitated a partner retreat remotely this morning, so I didn't get to hear all of it. But I know there's been a lot of cool perspectives and different ideas. I'm going to come from the angle of, hey, let's take a pause here and be careful about what we do with this firm of which we are stewards. I really believe that we are stewards of everything that is entrusted to us, this earth and our country, our profession, our firms, the talent, the clients. And so we're supposed to be making it better. We're supposed to pass things on in better shape maybe than we found them. I'm not certain that as senior members of the U.S. population these days that we have done that per se, but I think that's what we're going to have to look at. So use chat to share or ask anything. I am totally open and will be watching the chat for sure. For any of your comments, I'm happy to entertain some two-way dialogue or to address anything that I might poke into and cause you to wonder about. We're going to very briefly talk about what's causing this, and then we're going to get into just all the questions I think that you should be sort of thinking about and considering. So what's driving all this change? I'm sure you all have talked about it. Demographics. We have an aging boomer population. The over 65 population in this country is growing at 13%. It's the fastest band. The next working age population is growing at 2 to 3% and projected to slow considerably in the next 7 to 10 years. So a big exit, a lot of exit, and a lot of like, who am I leaving this to, and how am I getting out, and what kind of money is going to take care of me in my old age, and what kind of health care am I going to need, and what sort of travel do I want to do? All that's causing people to consider this. There's this possibility right now with PE, especially driving up valuations of a big payday for senior leaders and the largest shareholders in not just CPA firms, but lots of companies across the country. And that's driving a lot of this exit conversation. Brokers are super excited about the opportunities, and I'm sure you caught some of that excitement today. There's a fear of missing out. Gosh, what if we don't do it? What if I'll never get a valuation like this? What if we can't compete? A lot of the messages that are being said and shared from the stage are fear-based messages telling you you can't remain independent or you won't be able to compete with the capital. I beg to differ, but that's one of the things that's driving it. Uncertainty about the next generation. Will they work as hard as we did? Can they run it as smart a business as we can? I tell people I'm old enough now. I've been doing this. Convergence is 25 years old long enough that I was there in the room with the old guys when they wondered about you, and they didn't think you could do it. I promise. And you have, and so that's kind of an interesting challenge. Some firms haven't built a bench. They haven't had the culture. They haven't had the skill to retain talent to build their bench, and there's all this change coming, and maybe there's a little bit of fatigue, a little bit of tiredness. Not wanting to change. So to me, those are the things that are driving change. And if you have other thoughts, chat them. I'd love to add them to my list and know them and learn them from you. So now I'm going to kind of dig into the questions, like what questions do I think we need to be thinking about? What are my options for exit these days? I know you've been looking here. David said we're going to look at all sides of the coin. Usually there are only two sides, but maybe all the edges too, and the writing on it. So really tight examination there. Obviously you have the PE option. You have non-PE merge up, merger of equals, ESOP. You have other options, phantom stock, all different sorts of structures. You have remaining independent. Those are at least some of, and that's internal transition, internal succession, our traditional transition. Those are the exit options. Wow, the valuations are amazing. How are the buyers going to get their 20% return? To me, that's the biggest question related to PE. I'm worried about the valuations. I'm worried about what they're paying. For as long as I have been helping firms do manage and negotiate and memorialize internal transition, so the buy sell provisions of their partnership agreement and how they will go about transitioning, we've really never had valuations anywhere close to what they're selling for today. I mean, maybe 2.5, 3 times equity. Now it's 9, 10, 14 times. I'm worried that that is going to be a hard basis to return 20%. And I think that's what PE and their investors are pretty much looking for. I'm not an expert on PE. I'm an amateur, and I'm studying and I'm chasing it like a dog chasing a car, but I have read as much as I can get my hands on, not just about PE and the accounting profession, but in all other industries. I have read studies by PE watchdog groups, and I have met with a bunch of PE folks to try to understand their vision and what they're planning to do. I'm bringing that to you today, but I am not an expert. But I wonder about these valuations and if they're sustainable. And if they're not sustainable and PE can't make it happen, then what happens? And so I wanted to share this three-legged stool. This is Jen Wilson's armchair, learning PE. This is kind of how PE starts to try to get their return. And what I understand, listening to a number of the investors, they really think that the big upside is, accounting firms don't have growth culture. Boy, we know how to grow. We're going to come in there. We're going to bring growth culture for sure. The second thing is we know how to get economies of scale across our different portfolio companies and negotiate, and we're going to be able to cause efficiencies. And we know how to spread. And so they really have this three-legged stool. Grow, grow, grow. And I've been helping firms grow for a long time. And right now, attracting clients isn't a huge challenge. Clients are seeking great providers. They aren't being well served. Maybe advisory is a little spongy or soft right this minute because the economy is spongy and soft. But for the most part, finding clients hasn't been firm problems. The problems have been having the capacity to serve the clients with quality and to have the depth to provide real advice and real relationships to clients, not just kind of crazily trying to deliver compliance output and meet deadlines in sort of a whack-a-rat kind of game where we haven't been able to go deep with clients. And so I worry that PE doesn't understand, perhaps, and I know I'm generalizing and they're all different. And part of it is what makes you unique, special, and different, but they all want to get their return and they all need to get their money out. That's my understanding. So that they have that similarity. And so I don't know if they really totally understand that if they implement CRM and get leads really pumping through and really tightly managed selling and sort of take the guardrails off ideal target clients and just sell and maybe start discounting a little bit, do all this stuff to sell, and they really pump up closing engagements if they really understand what that does to client service, quality, relationships, client experience, talent experience. We got a lot of burnout now. We got a lot of overwhelm now. We have a lot of I'm not winning at work now. So cranking the volume on growth, I wonder about that. I am a little concerned that we don't totally understand what that will look like and the resistance that could happen inside the troops to doing that. And how frustrating that could be if I paid 9 to 14 times EBITDA, if I couldn't get people to crank it up and really grow. The spread is interesting. Let's grow geographically. Let's grow. Let's add services. Let's buy stuff. Let's buy IT companies. Let's buy law firms in Arizona or Utah. Let's expand the mix. Let's buy wealth management. Let's grow those by requiring that CPAs introduce their clients, 6 clients a month to the wealth management group, or you've got to close 2, IT outsource deals, for our IT outsource partner that's part of the portfolio. So those are kind of interesting things. Traditionally, we have not kind of operated like that culturally. And so there will be some cultural shifts, and we'll talk about that in a second. So drive the top, spread and expand reach, and then increase efficiency. And, what we're hearing is they plan to take a lot of hours offshore. Some of them, their model is like, hey, we're at X% now, low double digits, let's say, and we're going to go to half of the hours are going to be offshore, or big numbers, big intentions to cut cost in labor, cut cost through the portfolio, volume pricing and
Jen, are you saying
yeah.
are you saying in conversations you've had that, I mean, like you said, not all PE buyers, but with some, they've said things like single digit outsource to ideally half, or is that kind of the sentiment you feel, or kind of unpack that a little bit?
So I've heard it. So I've heard, I've been listening to the pitches and having various meetings, and so and they're learning too. I mean, these folks are new to the profession, so they're coming in and having lots of conversations, and as they go, they're perfecting and kind of refining their both their pitch and then maybe, of course, while they go into actual implementation, once they're invested, they're going to be refining like crazy as they figure out what they can and can't do. But there have been some that are like, hey man, we could take a lot of this labor offshore. They're viewing it as a volume business. And maybe not all of them are that excited about the advisory piece. Some are totally excited about annuity advisory like wealth management, but some are like, hey man, let's turn this into a high volume business. And that advisory stuff's hard to scale. But boy, we could automate the holy heck out of tax, compliance, and we could take a bunch of it offshore and strip the cost out of it dramatically and really make some profit. At the end of the day, they're trying to drive the top to get to the profit so they can get their 20%, and somebody would want to buy this thing from them because they've got demonstrable top line growth and they have proven profits. So
Mhm.
you can't just grow it at the top without figuring out how are we going to strip some of that cost to increase the profits. I have to show that I'm making more money than what I bought. So I want you to know that I love the fact that all of this conversation and this influx of new buyers and new conversations is causing all firms to go, uh-oh, we might have to change faster. Uh-oh, we can't take the slow boat to change any longer. We can't be perfectionistic, and we can't be not unified. We have to hustle up. We got to get going. We're going to have to move. So that's the good part of this. There are advantages. There's tons of advantages for firms that want to remain independent and for our profession in terms of driving change, I think, and causing us to think differently and know we need to move faster. But if I were trying to sell a firm into PE ownership, these would be the things that I, would be focused on and trying to figure out, what are you doing? What is your strategy for growing the top? What would we do more of and less of? How will we manage increased capacity? How are you going to strip cost? How are we going to increase profits? How are we going to expand reach? And, sometimes in expanding reach, we have unrationalized, acquisitions. We're buying stuff, but we're not acculturating it. We're not really getting us assimilated. We're not, it's us versus them. The old firm still feels like it's the old firm, the little one that we bought over there. There's same things, same challenges with M&A, whether it's PE backed or not. Too many transactions in a year, too many changes in a year, the wheels start to rattle a little bit. And so, those are just things to be thinking about, I think, in this process. And so one thing to think about is, how does culture change? How is it impacted? And I think if I had a concern at all, like a real deep-seated thing that's bugging me or bothering me, it's that I have always loved this profession, and I've built my entire career in it, trying to figure out how to make it better every single day that I wake up, which is kind of weird but true. Um, and uh, if I said to you why, it's because we've been consciously capitalistic on the whole as a profession, at the associations and the firms and the people within them and the finance departments, for the most part, have been consciously capitalistic. And what that really is it's all stakeholders win. Clients win. I care about them deeply. I want what's best for them. I'm trying to do right by them. I'm putting their needs first and ahead of mine as a shareholder. Talent is important. We're going to invest in them. We want them to grow up someday and own this profession and stay in it forever. And we're going to do what we have to make that work. The community where we serve clients, we're going to invest. We're going to invest in the accounting community. We're going to serve on state society and national association boards. We're going to invest in our local communities through community service. And then shareholders. Shareholders are going to win too, because we invested in those three other legs of the conscious capitalism stool. And I fear that this move toward high valuations and the need to turn somewhere between 3 and 7 years to turn and flip those investments and try to get somebody else to buy this thing that they invested in, that creates this a move away from conscious capitalism and more toward traditional capitalism, which is, and the entity exists for the sole purpose to maximize shareholder value. And that's what we have to do. And folks, whatever it takes, that's what we're going to do. And all my study of the private equity profession, all my study points back to that's the foundation. That's what, like, the rule number one. And so that troubles me. I think culture will shift because of that. Culture will shift because of the changes culture is shifting. It's not just it will, it is shifting. We're talking to people inside these firms that have already headed down this path. And while they're not sitting on panels on conference stages because they can't, they're certainly sharing their experiences with some of the interesting changes that are being made to start this process. And if you start reading case studies of what's happened in healthcare and other industries, and you hear what's being said in these accounting firms, you can see that we are definitely going to have a shift in the way it feels and where our priorities lie. So that's just something to pay attention to. So, what is the PE? This is a bunch of stuff I don't have the answers to, okay? Because these are questions that I need you to ask if you're going to do a deal. So, hey, PE firm, what's your exit strategy and what would be the timing? Who else has your entity, the PE entity, flipped? Like, who else have you invested in that you have successfully sold after that 3 to 7 years? How did it work? Who was it? What did it look like? What happened? Was there a second round of payout to people within the firm that got flipped? Did they realize the money that is promised, perhaps? And all these deals are structured differently, but I would want all the details of what those flips looked like. And if they haven't done it, I'd want to try to study other PE firms that have done it to understand that better myself before I went down this path. And if they had any of their investments sell back to the owners, or go bankrupt, or sometimes they asset strip and they sell part of it, so maybe they sell, they bought up 10 firms and maybe they sell 2 because they can flip those 2. Have they had to do any of that? Because that's not their plan when they come in, but sometimes that's what happens. And PE-backed firms, organizations as a whole, have a higher bankruptcy rate than those that are not PE backed. So I'd want to understand that. We don't have those kind of statistics inside accounting right now, but there are definite statistics across all PE firms in the country. And also I'd look hard at healthcare and what's happening there in terms of bankruptcies, asset stripping and sellbacks, because there's a lot of that happening. And then I would want to know what accounting like industries has PE changed for the better. And I'm waiting for answers on that. I ask every single audience that I speak to. So if you have some, chat them, please. I want to know which ones were left better, like transformed, and they're amazing now. Because I haven't found them. And what I really want is I want accounting like ones. They're technical, they're client service focused, they're they have regulations and ethics and integrity and these requirements for licensure. And I want to know how those have done. Some people sometimes say to me, David, car washes. I get car washes, that's one. And I'm like, oh, that's just like accounting. Yeah, car washes are better. I like the monthly car wash annuity thing and that I can wash my car 10 times a day if I wanted to. But that's not a relational business. It's not a technical business. And I don't think it is totally relatable. I put in here, I'm not going to go through them, but I put in here, like, if I wasn't going to take PE money, maybe I'd do an upstream merger. Maybe I'd sell up to a non-PE or to a PE-backed entity too. So I put in pros and cons. I'm not going to go through them all because I want to tell you what else I have in here. And I'm happy to provide the slide deck to people that want to get it. And I have a little QR code at the end that you can shoot, and we'll send you just a few resources. And there are resources in the back for you to read for sure. I have a whole page of interesting study on healthcare, and what's happened there and some of the parallels I think we should pay attention to. But anyway, one thing about selling our firm, I don't want to change. I'm tired. I don't feel like it. I'm going to sell it. Well, if I have to stay for 3 years, I'm going to do court ordered change on their timeline. And I don't get to control it. And some of these entities, upstream mergers, they buy my firm. Some of them say, well, we're going to strip and replace all technology in 12 months, stuff like that. And you're like, oh, I didn't want to change, but now I'm going to, change on steroids, change court order change. That's all I have to say. But there are advantages too. And I do want to say that inside this whole thing that's happening in our profession, there are opportunities in every single bucket, so there are pros, there are positives, but we've got to scrutinize the heck out of the cons, the negatives, what are the downsides, and really understand them. Because I do want to say this, maybe one of the questions we should ask ourselves is there really a get rich quick? Does that work? Because that's what I wonder about. I fear that we have a little bit of that going on, a little bit of Wile E. Coyote or something, dollar signs spinning in our eyeballs, thinking, man, I could get these great valuations, take my money off the table, not wait 10 years. Ooh, this is awesome. I promise that comes with strings, and we should understand what those strings are. And then what does it take to remain independent? Boy, we don't have time for this. David gave me 30 minutes. He didn't even ask me to talk about it, but I absolutely have to bring it forward that you can. And first, it requires a healthy foundation, and that requires a clear cultural commitment, a defined culture, a culture of conscious capitalism, certainly stewardship, and the commitment to put our selfish interests at least on a level playing field with the rest of the interests, and not put our selfish interests first. Some firms leaders say, hey, I inherited this firm. Yes, I bought it and I grew it, but I got it from someone else and I'm going to pass it to someone else. It's not mine. I'm just here as a transient owner. That's called stewardship. Unity, unity as a partner group. Disunity costs money and it pulls us apart, pulls us off streamlined, fast, and powerful change. And then innovation and change. And man, there's so much fun stuff to change. Moving away from time, ladies and gentlemen, AI all over the place, which is so fun and exciting, the stuff that it can do. And then growth, yes, the growth ideas that we are hearing and feeling from the M&A and PE side, They're real, they're important. We should have a growth culture, but we want to grow strategically. And I'm going to tell you, you can grow a firm that gives you joy. You can serve clients you love, who value you and will pay you what it's worth. And you can serve clients that the services you're providing you love to deliver and your team loves and you're good at. You don't have to be a mile wide and an inch deep. You don't have to serve everybody. You don't have to grow unrationalized growth where you feel like you're losing every day. PE may drive that, but some of you are growing that way now. You're just growing unrationalized. Just keep selling. I have 2 slides in this deck of all the possible things you can do to capitalize if you're going to remain independent, and also things you could do to build that firm that will give you joy. It's just 2 slides. I'm not going to read it to you. It's a ton of stuff. And you could look at it and go, oh my gosh, we can never do all this, but you're already doing some of it. But I wanted to have it what do you do in culture? What do you do with unity? What do you do with innovation and change, growth? How are we going to build that growth culture? What are some of the specific things? These are practical, strategic things to do, and then all the ideas and talent. And at Convergence, we want to help, and not just help like I want to sell you services. I want to help you figure out what to do, and I'll provide this deck and some other resources. If you want to shoot the QR code, I'm happy to take questions. David, you may have something to say, but I'm also just happy to answer questions that you want to email me privately. I want to help you navigate this. So that's what I have to share at this point. And what do you have to say to me, David?
Yeah, it's kind of this mixture of a breath of fresh air and a bucket of cold water at the same time, right? Especially at the summit. But I think, the recurring, comment we've been making is for, for many listening, you get to sell once, and something, Matthew mentioned earlier, which is like be intentional, and take your time and think through these things. And so I would just encourage the audience, if you do have questions. We're going to have to hop into our next session soon, but please reach out to Jen. Her information's right here on the screen. Take her up on the QR code and get the deck, and just be thoughtful about your next steps. And so I think Jen's presentation really kind of outlined a couple different approaches, and hopefully is a nice counterbalance to a lot of the conversations that we've been having today. So Jen, I appreciate the time you spent, and I just encourage everybody to reach out and connect with you.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and thanks everybody for entertaining these alternative perspectives. And I hope you'll ask these questions. I really do. And share anything you're learning with me. I can be educated. I want to learn. I want to hear all the things. So feel free
Sounds
to
good.
reach out.
Jen,
Thanks.
I appreciate the time. Everybody that's playing along, next up, we're going to be chatting with Ashley Roden. She's the COO of High Rock Accounting. If you do transact, what does the successful integration process look like? So we're going to be talking about 100 days after the deal and how to make that successful. Jen, again, thanks for the time, and I'll see folks in the next session.
Thanks all.